Delighted to share with you a sneak preview, some highlights, and just highlights because of the time constraints today. There might be an opportunity down the track to do something a bit more detailed. This research project on performance management and feedback in the professions is one that we've been looking forward to doing for some time. The previous 2 or 3 surveys that we've done with MPF's help have related to equity partner performance and compensation. This one focuses on employees, both client-facing and business services. And it harks back to a 2015 survey that we did, again with MPF's help, in the aftermath of the HBR article on rethinking performance management. And so there's some broader context around this survey, and we're in a position to compare some results between now and 9 years ago to see how firms have evolved their performance management practices in that time. I am going to share some slides shortly. Hopefully you can see those. Yep, great. And I'll move through these fairly briefly. I won't stop on every slide, but because it is statistically driven insights, it does help. The research subjects we looked at in relation to performance and feedback were issues such as the frequency of formal reviews and check-ins, the use of ratings and metrics, the effectiveness of the process, links between performance and talent decisions, compensation, bonus, promotion, the use of project or matter-based feedback for individuals and teams. A couple of issues that we're able to bring into this survey around hybrid working and its impact on feedback culture, the use of technology and AI in performance management, and finally, priorities for evolving performance management in firms. The survey drew 170 firm respondents, which is an excellent result for something this niche. And as you can see here, strong representation from legal and accounting, and with thanks to MPF, very strong representation from UK firms as well. A good mix of firm size as well. So a few of the insights then. Almost 80% of firms still use annual or 6-monthly reviews. In 2015, when we did this research, there was a real appetite for change. And this figure, though it seems very consistent, if you look at the frequency between 2015, the blue lines, and the frequency between 2024, the green line, highly consistent. Yet that belies the amount of experimentation that firms have undertaken in this area. There is still, as you can see from the yellow line, a desire for more frequent feedback. But when we look at informal feedback, that is check-ins, as we call them, we see that the desire in 2015 for more frequent feedback has actually been realized through informal feedback, not formal feedback. And so almost 2/3 of employees are receiving quarterly or more frequent check-ins with their manager. So when we step back and look at formal and informal feedback together, what we see is that 2015 objective of more frequent feedback conversations is being realized. And I think a lot of your HR teams have put a lot of hard work into this over the last 5 or 10 years, both in terms of people development, systems and processes, and that should be recognized. So overall, I think firms are tracking well, but clearly have a desire for even more frequent feedback as well. One area that we're very interested in is the idea of post-matter or post-project feedback. Interestingly, this still hasn't caught hold in the way that we think it probably should. We're often looking for natural feedback cadences for firms in order to make it easy for people to give and receive feedback. Just 40% of employees receive feedback routinely on significant matters. And we put that word significant into this survey because we did want to add some qualification. We know it's not realistic to have feedback on every project or matter. Accountants lead the way, largely driven by audit teams in this regard. Law firms and other professional firms lag a little bit behind. Somewhat concerningly, only 30% of business services employees receive this type of feedback, rarely or never. This feels like a bit of a vulnerability given the absence of traditional financial and production metrics that apply to these roles. And so we would identify this as a real opportunity for firms to improve, both for client-facing and business services employees. We also asked about the impact of hybrid work on performance and feedback culture. Somewhat surprisingly, most firms said that it hadn't impacted feedback. We do know from a follow-up question that firms have sought to replace or substitute spontaneous or casual interactions with a number of initiatives, more intentional feedback, scheduling anchor days for people in the office and teams, and using technology. So there's been some strategizing around this, but it is worth noting also that 1/3 of our respondents said that hybrid working has negatively impacted feedback, and that is a concern. In terms of technology, we asked a specific question around AI and whether the firm has plans to use AI in the performance management process. 92% of firms are interested in this, either there or moving in that direction. This is largely led by mid to large firms. Unsurprisingly, I think, firms are seeing AI as an opportunity to increase efficiency in the process. But our observation from our own work in this area is that efficiency shouldn't dominate, that quality of conversations, frequency of conversations should remain the North Star in any deployment of AI. Unsurprisingly, since we conducted the research in 2015, we've seen an uptick in adoption of technology for performance and feedback processes. Many of your firms will be using technology. In 2015, 40% of firms used technology for performance reviews. That's up to 72%. And really that's much closer to, it's well into the 90s if we take firms over a certain size, as you can see from the chart. There's a real correlation between firm size and the adoption of technology, and that won't be a surprise, given the natural pain points that exist within that process for a lot of firms. I appreciate that I'm flying through these. I'm hoping that one or two of these might trigger a little bit of interest, but I'm almost there. Technology is largely being used for the benefit of end users, that is partners, managers and employees, as we can see here, for managing reviews, for goal setting, for 360 feedback. Where we see an opportunity is for firms to use that technology to generate more database performance insights. So you can see there in the red, analytics to analyze performance trends, and data inputs for REMCOMs and evaluation committees is pretty low, really, given the demographics of the firms that have responded to this survey. Finally, most firms say in an overall sense that this process is effective. I mean, you'd hope so, given the amount of time and effort that people put into it. It is a concern that 15% of firms say that it is ineffective or highly ineffective, although we note that small firms are overrepresented here. And there are some, I guess there are just some administrative challenges in small firms around this stuff. Mid-size and larger firms tend to have bigger HR teams, specialists in the area, who do a lot of the heavy lifting and end up having a very positive impact. I'll stop sharing my screens and just reflect on the top 5 change priorities for firms. Continuing to increase the frequency of feedback is one. Investing in manager training and development, understanding that this is essentially still a human system at work despite technology. Driving consistency across the firm, particularly in relation to perceptions of fairness. That's very important. These processes can help or hinder those perceptions in a major way. Fourthly, enhancing the feedback culture and in particular, creating more psychological safety around feedback. And that might be one of the factors that's impacting those post-matter or project debriefs or feedback. And finally, the continuing integration of technology and adoption of AI to create both efficiency and greater quality in the conversations. And so with that very quick tour, I'll stop there.